Hello, my name is Randy Starkey. I am the pastor of Mariposa Baptist Church in Stanley, North Carolina. And I wanted to take just a moment to provide some information that I hope will be helpful to you if you have interest in anything concerning the Southern Baptist Convention. As you know, there are a lot of issues or topics that have been hot topics, I guess, or hot issues of late over the last several months and even the last year and a half or so in the Southern Baptist Convention, as well as in our nation and world. But these things do have impact on the Southern Baptist Convention. Some of those issues surround things like Resolution 9 and how it relates to critical race theory. Another issue that's been being dealt with recently has to do with women in ministry as it concerns Southern Baptist churches and who will be pastors in them. Another issue surrounds specifically the ERLC, the Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission of the Southern Baptist Convention. But they are but one arm or one entity of the Southern Baptist Convention. So the issue really is the accountability of these entities to the SBC. And so these are some of the hot topics and issues that have been raised, of which people have had some concerns about what direction the Southern Baptist Convention is going. One of the things that has a big impact on the direction is those whom we elect to lead the Southern Baptist Convention. And so in June in Nashville, Tennessee, the Southern Baptist Convention will gather and we will elect our next president. And this most certainly will have some impact on the direction that we will then go as a convention. Now, understanding that the Southern Baptist Convention is not a really per se denomination. I know we call it that, but the convention is a gathering or a cooperation of many autonomous churches who have chosen to cooperate together around common things. And one of those things that we gather around is the Baptist faith and message. And of course, we gather around that, and then together we seek to support multiple things like missions, education, and of course with the ERLC, an arm that has a political input. But we're going to gather and we're going to elect our president, and they're going to guide us or lead us into the days ahead. So I think it's important that we have some information about these people that might be leading us. And this year, as of now, as far as I'm aware, we have 4 candidates that are running to be our leader. I guess there could be others that would be added to that, but what's interesting is this is probably, at least as far as I can recall, the most candidates we've had for the last several years. There's some things at stake here. If you care about the issues and the direction of the Southern Baptist Convention, then I encourage you to get informed on some of these issues. Now, I know there's a lot of other things which we could spend our time on. I'm a pastor, and there's a lot of other stuff going on right here in my little church that I could spend all my time on, and most certainly should be. But I think this convention, this year is going to be a historic one. I think it's going to have a great impact on the direction we go. So I think that we should most certainly be prepared for that and be informed on some of these issues. And so I wanted to introduce to you some of these candidates. I don't know a lot about these candidates. I'm trying to figure out some things about like where they stand on some of these issues and how they would lead concerning these. But it's not easy with some of them. I have reached out to all of them, and 2 of them have responded back so far, and I'll be doing a brief interview with them and letting them present, kind of how they would lead or what they think about some of these particular issues, although these are not the only things that are involved in leading the Southern Baptist Convention. Most certainly leading us to have a massive gospel impact is the number one thing, the Great Commission. But these things most certainly will have impact on our ability to do those things together. And so let me introduce them to you. And what I know, the first candidate that I'm aware of is Mike Stone. Mike Stone is the pastor of Emmanuel Baptist Church in Blackshear, Georgia. Mike is formerly, very recently, was the chairman of the executive committee as well. I know I don't know how many years, but he's been the pastor of Emmanuel for some time. I don't know Mike personally, Mike has responded to me through messaging and is willing to do an interview. So I'll let Mike make his case for where he stands. I do know that Mike stands in opposition to Resolution 9, and he was nominated by Tom Askell, or will be nominated by Tom Askell of Founders Ministries. And so there's Mike Stone, one candidate. Another candidate is Randy Adams, and he is the executive director of the Northwest Baptist Convention. I don't know Randy personally. I've reached out to Randy. He's responded to me, and he's scheduled an interview as well, which will be happening next Tuesday, a week from today. And I do know that Randy also stands in opposition to Resolution 9. That's all I know. There's more to it than just saying you're in opposition to it. I recognize that, and I will let him make that case or say what he wants to say about that when I do that interview. The next candidate, which is probably the most well-known, is Al Mohler, the president of the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary in Louisville, Kentucky. Al has been a very integral part of the Southern Baptist Convention for a long time, and is well known. He hosts a program every morning called The Briefing that deals with political and social issues and how it relates to our biblical worldview. And so you most certainly can find out more information about him by listening to The Briefing. You can go to his website. I think it's almohler.com or .org. I'm not sure. Just look him up on Google. He's the easiest one to find. I'm pretty certain. Well, Al Mohler, I'm not sure exactly all his positions concerning Resolution 9 and some of the other ones. I do know that the seminary presidents put out a collective statement in opposition of critical race theory. But again, I probably will not be able to garner an interview with Al Mohler, but again, he's the easiest one to get information on. So, finally, the fourth candidate is Ed Litton. He is the pastor of Redemption Church in Saraland, Alabama. I don't know much about Ed at all. I haven't been able to find much about how he feels about some of these issues. He is... I have reached out to him. I haven't got a response yet. Hopefully I'll be able to do an interview with him and let him tell you, kind of where he is with all these things. Because it's not just fair to say somebody's for or against this thing. You need to at least let them kind of give some kind of explanation, because sometimes there's some nuances to those positions. But Ed was or is going to be, as far as I know, nominated by Fred Luter, a former president of the Southern Baptist Convention. But again, hopefully I'll be able to get some more information on them so that, again, for me, that I might know how to best move forward. And then finally, I wanted to make mention that Mike Stone is going to be, if you're in my area around Charlotte, he's going to be at the First Baptist Church of Indian Trail next Tuesday night at 7 p.m. for an information meeting. If you want to know more about Mike Stone, then here's an opportunity for you to learn about him so you know whether you would want to support him or not support him. But most certainly you should try to find out some information about each and every one of these guys. Again, this information meeting is at First Baptist Church of Indian Trail next Tuesday evening, February 16th at 7 p.m. Now, just in closing, I just want to say that I realize that, again, we have so many other things to do than sit around and think about all these particular issues and how things might go. And they're important, but I know there's important things going on right now today in your church if you're a pastor or in your life in general. But I can't stress enough and encourage you to give some attention to this, because I do believe that the convention that will happen this year will likely stand as what we would call a historic convention. It will most certainly have a lot to do with the direction of the SBC, regardless of what view you take, which side of the aisle you may be on in some of these issues. It's important that you kind of be informed. And then if you're a pastor, I want to encourage you, especially if you're a pastor of a small church like mine, because I'm a pastor of a very small church. We feel so insignificant, but there's 40-some thousand churches, and the vast majority of them are churches just like mine, of less than 100 people. And though we feel insignificant, collectively we are a very loud voice. And so if you're a pastor, I want to encourage you to make plans to try to be at the convention this year. I don't go to all the conventions. I think I've been to 2 Southern Baptist conventions my 25 years in ministry. But this most certainly is the one to plan to go to. And if you're a small church, you get 2 votes. You can take 2 messengers who can have a voice at the convention, and then churches can get more messengers depending on how much money they give towards the cooperative program. But you get at least 2. So just imagine if 5,000 churches like mine send 2 messengers. That's a pretty loud voice, especially considering the attendance of the convention in the last several years. So it's important that you try to make plans to go, and if possible, take someone else with you from your church. I know I plan to be there, and I plan to take another messenger with me from this church, if at all possible. So if you have any other questions, again, I'm not the expert on these things. I don't spend a lot of time researching this, but if you do have any questions that you would like maybe the candidates that I'm able to interview to answer, then please email me a question that you would like to know what they think about this issue or that issue. Email me at randy@mariposabc.org. That's RANDY at Mariposa, MARIPOSA, BC as in Baptist Church.org. randy@mariposabc.org. And I'd be happy to include that in the interviews that I am going to be doing. Again, I know I'm going to be interviewing at least 2 of these candidates, and hopefully at least 3, and then maybe, if possible, all 4 of them. But until then, I hope that you have a wonderful day, and God bless you.